Until recently, I worked as an investigator for a major auto insurance company. I worked in the office 100% of the time, no going out in the field. We document everything said on a call like our lives depend on it. My job is to learn more about what happens in accidents if there's a special issue related to the contract and/or time, like if you made your payment and got into a collision on the same day, possible fraud indicator, or maybe just bad luck. I've had tons of uninteresting paranormal stories from callers. I got into an accident because my car is cursed. My car has been replaced with an identical car by the CIA, but this one really sticks out to me because of the way the company handled it. New file to me. Single vehicle comprehensive claim, vandalism, occurring within 55 days of policy adjustment. I basically just need to learn whether these damages that are being claimed occurred before the subject modified his policy for a better deal on the damages, etc. Easy peasy, just need a police report or time-stamped photos of damages. Policyholder reports scratch marks all over car, mostly on roof. Weird but think nothing of it, office pace moves at lightning speed, if you stop to think, you fall behind, and my type A ass is going to hit every KPI like my life depends on it. Call policyholder for recorded interview. He picks up right away, good sign. Older white guy, we'll call him Jim. Go over the reason for my call. He's cooperative and receptive, but I can tell he's nervous as fuck. This isn't unusual. RI goes normally, he says that someone scratched the shit out of his car, states he called law enforcement out to the scene and that they're going to provide him with a police report. Wrap up RI, do my closing statement. Is there anything else you want me to know about what's happened in the incident that my questions didn't directly address?
No.
I know that kind of long pause. Something else is going on here, but it's not relevant to coverage, so I don't probe. Wrap up the RI. No further questions. Tell Jim I stopped recording the interview. I hear him tense up a bit.
That wasn't the whole story, Anon.
Fucking shit.
You've got to believe me. I didn't want to say this on the interview because they'd hike my rates.
Duh.
But it's not teenagers. It's something out there at night. I've seen them my whole life. They followed me all the way out from the West Coast.
Lost state is West Virginia. This took place in a town so small I can't see his house on street view.
They killed my dog and they've been all over my house. They're trying to get in. They can't get in if you lock the door, though.
He's talking really quick. I document PH reports someone been trying to break into his house. I asked him if he told the police about this. He says he did. Our calls are monitored for quality, so I stay polite and do what I can to wrap the call.
Do you believe me, Anon?
Tell him sure thing, man. Sorry to hear about that. I share the file with my team. Whenever anything funny pops up we stick it in our group chat. Save the claim number for later review. My work here is done, we just need pics and the PR to wrap up the investigation. Set an anchor to call him back in 3 days for the docs. Don't think about this until later that week because I'm buried in harder, more important work. Time to call Jim back, check the file notes. Jim called in and a teammate picked up. IBC from policyholder, policyholder advised further damage to auto non-drivable, policyholder advised contacted PD, set up sister file for additional damages. Unable to set tow as policyholder does not have deductible dollar or body shop nearby, policyholder adverb needs coverage investigation expedited, just needs to be able to leave. Check file docs. PR is virtually empty, just has the time, date that police were contacted. Body text is along the lines of complainant reports vandalism of vehicle and home. Officer Doherty dispatched to the scene, BWC activated. Verified damage to vehicle and residence. Check photos. I wish I had sent these photos to myself somehow in retrospect. We dealt with a lot of personal info in the office, so all communications external to the company were monitored, and we can't even have our phones out at our desks where we work, so I couldn't snap any pics. If I tried, I'd have to talk to management, and again. Type A, just focused on promotion. Shame. Photos are pretty out there. Just like Jim said, damage all over his car. Some of the scratches go into the actual car body, so someone was putting effort into them, not just using a key. OSIU thinks that this means Jim took a tool to his own car, but he doesn't stand to gain anything by doing so it's not a fraud indicator unless he's trying to total out the vehicle, and he's desperate to have it fixed. Jim sent tons of photos, which isn't unusual for older customers. We've got photos of scratches on his windows and door, And a bunch of pictures that just look like the woods surrounding his house. Photos take a fucking year to open on our computers. If I open one up and it's just trees, I close it immediately. Just try to find pics of his car. Rename all photos to RearQPDMG1, RearQPDMG2, Woods 1, Woods 2, Woods 3, etc. I submit my recommendation for coverage to RLC, it gets approved by my sup and sent to legal. 3 days pass, no longer thinking of Jim. Just thinking about the 100 other files I have to work where people are injured, stranded, etc. Recommendation returned, coverage approved. Congrats Jim. Open file. More calls from Jim. Policyholder calling in to inquire status of coverage review, advisory in progress. It's your lucky day, Jim. We can fix your car. Call him back. Straight to voicemail. Sent email advising of the same. Forget about Jim until next follow-up. Straight to voicemail. No inbound calls from Jim in the notes. Weird, because he was so urgent about finishing everything, but it wouldn't be the first time a customer has just lost interest. A week passes. Time for the next follow-up. Send Jim a letter of interest and let him know to call me whenever he wants his car fixed. Forget about Jim again. Take inbound call from local PD unit in Jim's town. They provide me with his policy number and inquire what he said about the incident. Pause. This is pretty unusual, usually only happens for a hit and run. Get permission from SUP to advise Jim's facts of the incident. I choose to omit the part where he talks about evil little gremlins trying to eat his skin, because I'm a professional and just interested in getting back to my real work. Still, this is setting off alarm bells. Police ask, is that all he had to say? Well, can't hurt to report the whole truth. I advise that the policyholder reports a fear of nighttime intruders and that they killed his dog. PD ask if he sent in any photos to the file and demand that we share them. Ask why? This is very non-standard. PD advise this is now a missing persons investigation. They request supervisor contact info. Provided. I am now interested in this file and check back in on it regularly. Figure Jim is probably on drugs. 2 type A for cryptid, ET bullshit. Check file notes. Only notes are from my supervisor now. IBC from PD. NFC with policyholder. Shared photos with PD after legal approval. Catch up with my supervisor about it. He says we've done what we can to help, it's in law enforcement hands now. Check file a month later. Still no payments issued out to Jim or contact from him. Only notes in file are from a regional legal associate, which is up the ladder from me. Whack. File notes are long and I'm having a hard time parsing all of them because they use acronyms I don't know. Don't take it up with my supervisor because I can't afford to bother him with month-old files when there are people who need our help immediately. Okay, this is where it gets really weird. Everything so far is normal. I've had other calls like this where it's just someone going nuts. This is why this file is different. Go to check file and break, interested in the pics Jim sent in. Wanna see what local PD is so eager to have. The photos for the vehicle damage are still in the file, but the pics I relabeled Woods 1, Woods 2, Woods 3, etc. are all gone. Sit up straighter in my office chair. Pics are never deleted from files unless they're nudes that a customer sent in by mistake, and even for those, you have to get RLC approval to delete for nudity, irrelevance to claim. I can't stress enough that photos are almost never removed. Our files are full of memes and unrelated text conversations because insureds fat finger their phones when trying to share evidence. But Woods 1 to 10 are gone. Check notes for RLC notation. Nothing. We have gone off procedure for this for some reason. My future CEO spider sense is tingling. Someone did something against code of conduct here. Oh, and no further contact from Jim. Huh. Don't raise the issue with my sup because I can't afford to look like I'm obsessed with the little gray men file. Have gotten flack for getting fixated on files before, non-supernatural. Close file and get back to work. End of business, go home for weekend. Sincerely spooked, not at whatever's happened to Jim, but because my precious evidence has been deleted from my perfect file. Write down the file number and Jim's policy number on sticky notes so that when I'm promoted down the line I can access it from the archive and see just what went on. Now comes the part I really hate. Monday. First break rolls around. Look up Jim's file. No matching claim number found. What? Claims are never deleted for any reason. Duplicate files are closed down but remain accessible. This never happens. I can see other claims on Jim's policy, just not this one. Again, just have to stress how this never happens. I have worked files that have been connected to ongoing criminal investigations for murder, domestic violence, and other sensitive subjects. They do not just go missing. They are our work product. They are everything to us. Contact supervisor. Advised. I was looking for the RLC submission template I'd used for the CC55 on Jim's file while working a similar case and could not find the file anywhere. He asked whether I was putting in the right claim number. Show him that I have Jim's policy number and can pull other files from his policy history, but not the most recent one. Supervisor advised that Regional Legal has been handling that one for a while and that he hasn't followed up on it since passing it up the ladder. Supervisor advised he would check with management and see if he could find out where the file went. Never comes back up in my time working there. I'm not with the company at this time, or I'd try to find out more to share with you guys, or post my badge for proof. Moved away from where I used to work and doing more higher ed. The local PD that were calling me didn't act like any other cops I'd ever talked to, and they sure had Regional Legal in the file really fast. This has all been on my mind with the disclosure stuff, of course. Stay safe and professional out there.
Jesus. Any ideas or theories on what happened to Jim and what was haunting his ass?
No clue what was bothering him, and I prefer not to speculate. I wasn't an auto damage expert, so I couldn't tell the difference between someone backing into a fixed object or striking a car with a baseball bat. What I can say is that there were ugly deep scratches all over the car and on the windows of his house, 2 stories. Scratches on the door but no sign of forced entry. He had a long driveway with no nearby neighbors and no listed family members to contact. I checked prior claims on his policy and found no unusual activity, just your standard struck parked vehicle and the like. No prior reports of vandalism on his vehicle. He was a long-term policy holder, so it's a shame we lost his business. What really bothers me is that the claim was removed by someone. I worked hard on that. Stuff moves so fast that we were encouraged to only spend time on active matters. I got my productivity points for finishing the investigation, and if Jim went missing, well, that'd be a concern for local police. We'd only consider a wellness check for him if he were still part of an active matter or if someone else were making a claim against Jim's policy and needed their car taken care of.
By all accounts, it sounds like poor Jim was taken out by a cryptid, and the feds are covering it all up. And, a really long shot I know, but when you saw those pictures of the woods, did any of them struck your eye? Something that looked out of place but you might not have paid it much attention since you were busy dealing with the case?
Honestly, I think that stuff like this happens all the time. It's just when others get involved that we hear about it. Had it been someone else handling Jim's insurance, they might not have cared at all.
They just looked like landscape shots of the woods taken from his house. If the car wasn't in the picture, I clicked off of it and relabeled the photo. Important to note that I was often on the phone with a separate customer while loading up and relabeling these pics. I typically had around 30 inbound calls a day at that time. What makes you think cryptid? Would one have followed him all the way from the West Coast? I'll be the first to admit I pretty much filtered out what he was saying to me. I was way more focused on the information I was specifically looking for as part of my job instead of everything he was providing to me, but that detail stuck out. I only noticed this case because of the file handling on our end. We get bizarre reports all the time, but they were never escalated beyond my capacity to handle, and for what I thought was basically no reason. I guess law enforcement didn't want to deal with it at the adjuster level, maybe because I was hesitant to share the evidence we'd collected. Police can request interviews, for example, to assist in ongoing criminal investigations, if someone advises to their insurance company that they struck a car and left the scene of the accident. That can come into play in criminal procedure, or a missing persons case.